Hello all, James here. Now, this video is not going to be just about Matt Riddle no showing an event in the UK recently. It's also going to be a sort of timeline of sorts of how Matt Riddle has pretty much made himself unemployable to any major wrestling promotion since he was released from WWE, I believe, at the end of 2023. He's not been picked up by AEW. He was only brought in to TNA once. He was brought into New Japan maybe for a few matches. That's pretty much it. And then basically they were both in 2024 and they've both not had him back. And this video is going to be sort of explaining why he's such a public relations nightmare, quite frankly, and how we've got to this point that now he's no showing events and he's really going to be costing himself. He's already cost himself bookings already through this and in conjunction with this at this point. So we're going to talk about that and sort of what has led up to this as well. But very briefly, signed with MLW. MLW signed Matt Riddle shortly after he was released after his second wellness policy violation with WWE, because MLW had just settled out of court their lawsuit with WWE over their alleged monopolistic practices. They had a bit of extra money going. They signed Matt Riddle to a contract which he is still under contract. Now, Matt Riddle in WWE was really hitting his stride with Randy Orton as RK Bro, the tag team that was meant to be like 3 weeks, and then for whatever reason the fans just loved it so much they kept them together. And then Randy Orton had a back injury, a severe, serious back injury, thought he'd be done with wrestling for good, so Matt Riddle ends up going solo. He does actually tag team with Kevin Owens. He ends up feuding briefly with Seth Rollins as well. He was moving up the ladder slowly but surely. And once again, I've asked a couple of promoters, they've all said he was a good guy. He's got his own issues kind of thing, but we're going to be getting into some of those issues. But once again, he's not done himself any favours with this latest PR nightmare. Anyway, once again, he was moving up the ladder in WWE, and then he's popped for cocaine. He suspended for 60 days. And then, put it this way, I don't know if it's anything to do with TKO, but when WWE and UFC merged as one company, Matt Riddle was one of the first people out of there. Now, once again, maybe it's cost-cutting, maybe, obviously, it's going to be the drug issues. There was also an issue where he was allegedly drunk, and he was definitely loud in an airport that a fan filmed, and then it went to TMZ. And then he also claimed that a TSA agent had felt him up and everything else, and then basically by that point the writing was on the wall. But when I mentioned TKO and UFC, it's because Dana White can't stand him either. He was upset with Matt Riddle for constantly failing drug tests, and his explanation was, look, dude, you have 3 fights a year, you can't come to work, can't you just be clean for a short while they test you? And apparently he couldn't be, so UFC kind of just got rid of him as well. Anyway, once again, Matt Riddle, he comes with a lot of baggage. There's also, years earlier, there was the issue with his wife. He was having an affair with a woman, and then the woman he was having an affair with accused him of some serious stuff. And then Matt Riddle accused her of stalking, and there was lawsuits, and there was restraining orders and the whole bit. A lot of drama going on while Matt Riddle was under WWE contract. And it's kind of surprising that WWE kept him, because usually with drama like this, WWE, regardless of whoever they think is in the right or not, will just cut you. So they, one, saw something in him, and two, they definitely took his side. Anyway, there was more issues with Matt Riddle apart from all this going on, and it seemed to be that he was winding up or annoying or just straight up upsetting some of the biggest stars in WWE. Here's some quotes for you. This is from TMZ. Matt Riddle on the Goldberg confrontation while he was in WWE. Goldberg came up to me again. He said he found me very disrespectful and rude, and I don't understand the business. And I go, I see your point, but I just don't think you're that great of a pro wrestler. And he goes, oh, well, my account's huge and this and that. And I go, Bill, your bank account, and I mean this, will always be bigger than mine. Puts him over, and then basically says, look, your in-ring ability, I would never want you to run or teach a wrestling school because you really don't understand, and you were pushed so far to the forefront, you don't get it. Whether you agree with Matt or you agree with Goldberg, kind of not the kind of thing you should be saying to Goldberg, who obviously has a lot more sway and pull in WWE than you do. And also, he's in the main event, which is where you want to get. Speaking of which, of main event, Brock Lesnar. Even while Matt was in NXT, he was openly proclaiming on social media and in interviews and even on NXT television that he wanted to wrestle and retire Brock Lesnar. Good to have a goal to reach for, of course, but Brock didn't really take the retirement line, maybe, and with all the constant public pressure in as great a spirits as he could have had. I don't know what Matt was expecting, really, but he went up to Matt backstage at a show and with Paul Heyman in tow and told Matt that there is no chance in hell that they will ever work together under any circumstances. Oh, and please stop tagging me on social media. Probably also doesn't help that Brock is friends with Goldberg, but here's two WWE legends and main eventers that Matt Riddle will never ever face now, which is just makes it more difficult for him to ascend the next rung of the ladder, I guess. Also, according to Matt, he was supposed to be the one to win the 2022 WWE, well, men's, obviously, Royal Rumble match. And according to Matt, I don't know if we believe that or not, but according to Matt, Brock Lesnar stormed in and said actually it was him going to be winning it, and that's that, and nobody in creative sort of said otherwise. I mean, who's really say otherwise to Brock, I guess. Once again to TMZ, Riddle called CM Punk, once again, WWE's golden child at the moment, has been since late 2023, a bitch to work with. TMZ podcast once again. Matt Riddle says that I have good friends on the roster that still say CM Punk's a bitch to work with. If he didn't generate the amount of money and attention that he does, he wouldn't be there. He's killing it. He's wrestling. He's staying active. He's staying busy, and his fans seem to love him. So I have no ill will towards the man, apparently. I just don't think he's well good at fighting. Well, that's fairly obvious. I think his better days of wrestling behind him. He also said that CM Punk in another TMZ interview, and here's the interesting interview, I'll give him that, Matt Riddle's always good for a quote, was a creep because he kept hanging around the NXT locker room and I guess having photos taken with Roxanne Perez. Who can blame him? But then Matt Riddle also said that CM Punk's actual wife, AJ Lee, got around the locker room back in the day, which is hardly the kind of comment that, you know, is from somebody who anticipates an imminent return to WWE. So clearly he sort of burned that bridge even more as long as Punk's there. The irony also of calling somebody difficult to work with when Matt was fired for one, drugs, and keep in mind he's not been picked up by AEW or TNA or New Japan Pro Wrestling or whatever, because he comes with so much baggage himself that he's also not just difficult to work with, he's just kind of toxic to hire. So it's kind of an ironic comment in that bit. Back to the TMZ interviews. Here's another one, a confrontation that happened at Hulk Hogan's funeral, no less. Matt said he wanted to confront Vince McMahon or Triple H if he got the opportunity, but instead he saw Shane McMahon. The first thing Shane said to me, he said it sarcastically, was, "Hey, nice hair." Now, Matt had just dyed his hair some ridiculous colour. Anyway, I'll be honest, especially now I don't work anywhere, I work for myself. He said that to me and I told him to go F himself and walked away. To be fair, he was being sarcastic when I told him to go F off, but you know, in the world of pro wrestling, you never know, he might have taken that seriously. Once again, building up a picture of somebody who cannot keep their own foot out of the mouth at this point. But now, accusations that could cost Riddle bookings is where we're going to be getting to with the no-show. And in fact, he'd already lost a booking during this little 4-day stretch where he was meant to be turning up in Barnsley in England, not too far away from me, actually. And another promoter had cancelled on him because they didn't want to work with him, but we'll get to that in a minute. An English independent wrestling promotion called Global Kingdom Wrestling had booked Matt Riddle all the way back in May through their manager. Everything was all kosher and happy and good to go. Then in July, it was announced that the company had said that this event that Matt Riddle was going to be appearing for was going to be a charity event. Anyway, it's going to be in Barnsley, which is not too far away from me. Matt was booked for the wrestling event on a Sunday, but he was going to be provided further bookings, which is why he was going to be flown in on Thursday. Seminars were originally going to be sorted out for him so he could get several bookings, make it worth his while. But according to the GWK promoter, the manager was asking them, and they'd agreed, to share Matt's time between themselves and also a promotion or a promoter in Paris who wanted to book him. Now, the Parisian event organizer, then, that was meant to be held on Saturday, so he was going to come to England, go to France, go back again. Decided that they didn't want to work with Matt. For whatever reason, it just said they didn't want to work with him anymore. They couldn't work with him. So, in the short amount of time, the GWK promoter, the English people, couldn't find any bookings locally for him for seminars or whatever else. So basically, Matt was still hopping on a plane on Thursday. But then, he was going to be in England for several days and then, the wrestling match on Sunday. Here's the thing. I mean, yeah, I can see why that'd be annoying, but here's the thing, is that according to the promoters, Matt Riddle ghosted them. Constant texts and calls saying, please, good luck on the flight, etc. Apparently they were ghosting him up until when the flight was happening, and then shortly before, Matt did respond, and then once again ghosted them a second time, and then didn't actually get back to them until days after when the event should have happened. Anyway, Matt didn't get on the plane, nor did he let the promoters know he wasn't going to be showing up to the event. He instead went to Miami and booked himself there for a match, and then an expletive-laden rant on a Twitter video. He complained that the GWK promoters booked him in the middle seat of a plane with no meal, and that it was basically looking to be the worst flight ever, so he just didn't go on the flight. He also said that he was a really nice guy and he was going to be on OnlyFans soon, so what that relevance has got, it hasn't got any to the previous accusations and claims and comments and whatnot, who knows. Anyway, Grado ended up, the Scottish guy, ended up replacing Matt Riddle at the last minute, and fans were mostly satisfied with the substitution at the in the arena. And then Riddle did indeed pay back the deposits that he was originally called out for withholding by the promoters. So regardless of that, it's still a horrible look, because he didn't tell the promoters he wasn't getting on the plane. There was text back and forth saying, hey, the driver's there waiting to pick you up. Hey, you've not checked in. What's going on? We'll get to the check-in, actually, because according to the promoter, once again, it's like, one, I've got screenshots of there being 2 meals included with the flight, and 2, there was no seat assigned to you, because that seat is only assigned to you after you check in online, which Matt Riddle apparently didn't, or according to the promoters, didn't. So once again, according to GWK, they only found out that Riddle would be no-showing their event less than 48 hours before it was meant to take place, leading to this last-minute scramble for a substitute. And where are we up to? So this, all allegedly, all back and forth. These are all interviews and back and forths and whatnot. Here's the thing. Matt Riddle is talented. He has charisma. He's got that certain something, almost like a Jeff Hardy kind of performer that you do gravitate towards, even if they're not really being pushed. He's kind of like, as an on-screen person, a likable guy. And he was being pushed up the WWE ladder slowly but steadily. And then he was gotten rid of because he was just clearly not worth dealing with. Public accusations are one thing. Persistent drug issues are entirely another. But then the real crux of the matter here is that Riddle's apparent unreliability, and I believe he had a reputation beforehand for saying things on interviews that upset people, or people... Look, the promoter in Paris cancelled him just saying that they didn't want to work with him. So something's happened beforehand where they were really upset and they just wanted to wash their hands of him, I guess. So he's now developing a reputation for himself where people are booking him and then cancelling on him. I'll get to that in a second. Or he's not showing up, at least in this case, which will just damage his reputation further. Now, you are nothing in pro wrestling as an independent contractor if you are not dependable. There will always, of course, be promoters out there who will, overlook certain things, certain baggage or issues that wrestlers may have and then book them anyway. But for other promoters, this might be the line in the sand where they will, okay, he's publicly, going on social media and arguing about this booking that he absolutely didn't make, and sort of not really, I guess, addressing some of the criticisms that the GWK people have put to him and whatnot, at least so far. But the fact is that he didn't turn up. Now, I'm not defending Matt here. I'm putting myself in his, shoes, but he wrestles barefoot. He's believing when he took this booking back in May, or his manager did, that he'd be getting 3 or 4 bookings and therefore 3 or 4 paydays for his trip. And then, his flights and hotels compensated as well, flying over and back again for a long weekend. Look, transatlantic flight is no fun. I get that, and I'm sure a good percentage of you out there has done it, and it's, exhausting and whatnot, and doing 2 and 4 days. That, it's something that is not fun. Then there's several days downtime because there are no other bookings, and then you're only getting 1 payday for the thing. Look, I get why Matt would be upset, but here's the thing. Why don't you just tell the promoters earlier and just refund the deposit? I mean, it would have been so much better if they said, look, I can't make it. It's not worth my time. I'm going to take another booking somewhere else with like a week or two's notice. Even that would have been exponentially better than less than 48 hours notice, so they've got to scramble. I mean, it'd be terrible for the fans who bought tickets, and then you could offer refunds if so. But yeah, I mean, just like ghosting the promotion, allegedly, ghosting the promotion and then not giving a satisfying response and then doing it so late on is pretty forgivable for a lot of people who would consider booking you. And this is the kind of thing which is really just going to tank Matt Riddle's own reputation, and that could really cost him a lot of bookings in the future. And speaking of costing bookings in the future, apparently, and once again, Matt Riddle's being a PR nightmare, not only just the last few years, but the last few couple of weeks he keeps giving interviews where it's just burying himself more than anybody else. And he might be right in some of his points, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's sort of, it's just total bridge burning interviews, basically. But here's the thing, is that apparently he also described the wrestling version of Me Too back in 2020 as total BS, which has further cost him a booking in South Dakota, because they read that and thought, well, that sort of doesn't align with our opinion and we don't want to have you on our show anymore. So once again, there was no real point in mentioning that in an interview. All it's done is cost him money, and it is the promoter's prerogative whether they want to book them or not, or cancel that booking. Here's the thing, time will tell, but that's sort of a brief timeline of Matt Riddle's public PR nightmares over the past few years, and once again, the past couple of weeks. But once again, he's a pretty talented guy, he's in shape, he's ready to go kind of thing, and now I just can't, for the life of me, see one WWE ever hiring him back, or at least not for years. But I think it bears repeating that AEW, who I think still in 2023, or late 2023, early 2024, were still happy to hire ex-WWE guys, or at least someone of that caliber, and they didn't, and then TNA didn't bring him back, and then New Japan's not really brought him back, so now he's just on the indies, and now he's costing himself indie bookings by no-showing, and it's like the old adage goes, it just seems like at this point, he's his own worst enemy, and there'll always be some promotions that will bring him in, ones that have got good relationships with them, of course, or just other ones, but once again, he's just costing himself a ton of bookings with his own bad PR, and that's kind of what it is. And no showing a charity booking. Here's something else, actually. He said, hey, they only just changed it to a charity booking last minute, and the promoters countered that by saying, no, we said it was a charity booking all the way back in July. So I'm sure they've got paperwork or whatever they sent out to back that back that claim up. But once again, bad luck for Matt Riddle. A bad PR thing for him, and that's sort of the end of the video. So if I've missed anything out of the timeline major from the Matt Riddle PR disasters that keeps following him, or quite frankly he keeps causing, let me know in the comments. Give us a like and a subscribe and all that kind of thing. It helps the algorithm, and I'll see you for the next video.